Born to a Hebrew family, Moses' life takes an unexpected turn when he is adopted by an Egyptian princess. In a time of tumult, when the cries of Hebrew infants were silenced before their first words, Moses was born. His brave mother, defying the edict of Pharaoh, set her beloved son afloat on the Nile in a small ark of bulrushes, entrusting his fate to the river's whims. Fortune favored the infant, and he was found by an Egyptian princess who, moved by his innocent cries, adopted him as her own. Raised in the opulence of the Egyptian court, Moses grappled with a dual identity, the Hebrew blood in his veins clashing with his Egyptian upbringing. This internal conflict reached its climax when he slew an Egyptian taskmaster, a violent act that forced him to flee to the desert lands of Midian. In the tranquility of the desert, Moses finds a new life, unaware of the divine plans unfolding. In the wilderness of Midian, Moses encounters a sight that changes his life forever. Amid the searing heat and endless dunes, a bush blazes with a fire that does not consume it. A spectacle of the divine. The flame dances in the desert air, yet the bush remains unharmed, undiminished. From within this fiery mystery, God's voice echoes. Reaching out to Moses, God calls Moses by name, tasking him with a monumental mission. He is to be the liberator of the Israelites, the chosen people suffering under the yoke of Egyptian bondage. The voice, resonating with authority and compassion, commands Moses to lead his people out of Egypt, out of slavery. Overwhelmed yet emboldened, Moses accepts this divine decree, stepping into his destiny as a leader, a prophet, a liberator. This divine encounter marks a pivotal point in Moses' life and sets the stage for a historic liberation. Armed with divine power, Moses confronts Pharaoh, demanding the freedom of his people. As the sun set over the ancient land of Egypt, the stage was set for an epic showdown. Moses, armed not with a sword but with divine power, stood before the mighty Pharaoh. His demand was simple yet earth-shattering. Let my people go. But Pharaoh, stubborn and hard-hearted, refused. Again and again, he denied the Israelites their freedom, even as Egypt was beset by a series of horrifying plagues. Each one was more devastating than the last, turning the Nile into blood, filling the land with frogs, and blotting out the sun with swarms of locusts. Yet, Pharaoh's heart remained unmoved. The final plague, however, was a blow that even the proud Pharaoh could not ignore. At midnight, a shadow of death swept across Egypt, taking the life of every firstborn, from the highest noble to the lowest servant. Even Pharaoh's own son was not spared. This devastating blow finally broke Pharaoh's resolve, and he agreed to let the Israelites go. With Pharaoh's permission, the Israelites packed their belongings in haste, not even waiting for the bread to rise. This bread, unleavened due to their hurry, would later become a symbol of their liberation, celebrated every year during the festival of Passover. And so, under the cover of night, the Israelites began their exodus. Led by Moses, they left behind the land where they had been slaves for 400 years. They stepped out into the desert, not knowing what lay ahead, but filled with hope for a future of freedom. The journey was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but they pressed on, guided by Moses and the divine power that he wielded. It was a march towards freedom, a march towards a promised land, a march towards a new beginning. In a triumphant moment, Moses leads the Israelites out of Egypt, marking the end of centuries of bondage and the start of a journey towards freedom.